Just a meaningless anecdote to start with. So I'm actually on a new system now, upgraded from, well, I won't bore you, but new processor, motherboard, etc. And when I went to launch Devastation, I could open the editor fine. When I went to launch the game, it asked me for a CD key, and I'm thinking, I've got a no CD crack because I either don't have the CD or it's, nearly 20 years old and for obvious reasons doesn't seem to work anymore. But I thought, CD key, like an actual serial number? I thought it takes me right back to the 2000s, right enough. And I was just sitting there flummoxed about, what am I going to do about this? But deep in my hard drive, or actually not deep in my hard drive, it was in the kind of top folder, I had a little text document called CD keys in which I had very wisely put the Devastation key in, not last decade, the decade before that. So I was very happy for that, because I'm not sure what I would have done if I couldn't launch the game. I'm sure I could have found some sort of hack in quotes to get around it, but it was a little bit of a surprise. Welcome back. I teased this particular scene last time. Teased as in looped 10 seconds of video of it over and over as an introduction. So what we're looking at here is a recreation of CTF Crossroads, which was about a third done and was also lost along with a bunch of other maps. And the thing which I miss about it is the kind of ambience, whatever you want to call it. Because, it's a map set at night, and it's supposed to be a kind of high contrast. You've got the kind of signs standing out against a starry sky. And kind of trying to make the lighting look nice, bit of contrast between kind of worn down buildings with kind of soft orange lighting. And if I was more bothered, there'd be more lighting up on those kind of buildings there, rather than, it doesn't look quite right. But I put far too much effort into this. I just, again, sat down with the editor and thought, I'm going to just make a little recreation of Crossroads from memory, and just like Warehouse, I just kind of got a bit out of control. Like, I built this kind of side area here, which wasn't actually in the original version. This was, say, the original version that wasn't even finished, but this street just kind of went off into nowhere because the map wasn't done. And I spent a bit of time putting this little courtyard together, and as I said in the mirrors, I can't not think of it as a full map. Like, I caught myself thinking, well, why are you making this little courtyard area? Nobody's going to see this map aside from this, there's no point. But I couldn't get out of the kind of mapper mindset, I suppose. Thinking, oh, this has to look good, and I'll put in a crane and I'll set the ambient glow of the crane up a little bit just so it stands out more against the sky, and I'll put a corona in a light, and I'll have to put another light to light up the light. And I was going to put coronas on those lights there, and all sorts of stuff, and I'll better set up a blocking volume for this so nobody can accidentally go through it. So it's a lot of effort for something which is just supposed to be showing you, oh yeah, this is roughly what Crossroads looked like. The main feature that I got done was a little street and a hotel, and in the version that was lost, actually, that was taller and actually modelled the inside of the hotel. It had a nice lobby, little corridors and rooms and all sorts of things. It looked really nice. But that's just a little bit too much effort, if I'm being honest to say that, having put all the effort in to do this. But I do remember the kind of nice, the light standing out against the darkness. I think it looks quite nice. I've been tweaking the kind of brightness settings on this, trying to make it look not too bright but also not too dark. And it's supposed to be about the contrast of the lights and different colours and things. So it's not exactly 100% what Crossroads was like from memory. It's close enough, it's like kind of this is the direction I would have taken the map had I taken it further. And the thing I always like in maps was kind of looking down areas that aren't actually playable. Like, you'd kind of look down this alleyway and you could see into another street, but you wouldn't be able to get to it. And if extremely small number of people who have both followed my channel for a long time and been watching the series might have noticed I've actually picked up an avatar for my YouTube account after 11 years now or something like that. So it's actually a texture out of this game. It's I'll put it up on the screen when I find it. And I've kind of been very fascinated with this texture, I don't know why. Something which occurs to me when you look at games, every single texture and asset had to be created. I know it sounds kind of obvious. I know nowadays there's probably procedural generation and a lot of stuff's done automatically and there's photogrammetry and all sorts of stuff, but in this game, all the assets were manually created, and I know that because I've made my own assets for this before. So every single texture represents somebody sitting at a computer and putting this texture in, putting the descriptions in, deciding which package it's going to go into, how it's all going to work, testing it. Every single texture, every single asset is accounted for like that. And it does kind of make me curious as to where this texture came from. I wonder, was this based off of a photograph, or was it just purely drawn up from scratch and then made into something which looks vaguely like a kind of neon sign? I don't know. But it's just something that I think about when I look at this game, or any game, is just, every single thing is accounted for. Somebody had to do it. Well, nowadays, it might have to set up an automated system, but they still have to do it. So you kind of think, somebody at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon in some office as long since gone was sitting here modelling this, and somebody else was saying, oh, you're going to get the texture done for that. It's kind of a strange sense of, I don't know if you'd call it companionship, but just sitting down at a computer and making things, not knowing how many times they're going to be seen or what other context. I wonder if the people that worked on this game ever thought anybody would still be looking at any of it in the year 2021. So enough of that talk. This is just, it was called Crossroads because, well, there's going to be Crossroads. Probably would have been a little bit tighter than this. But the idea of it, and obviously this is not done, so you can just see straight into the back of the houses there, flats, whatever you want to call them. So it's supposed to be about, crossroads at night and the contrast between kind of, run down areas and kind of warm lighting and then the cool lighting of these lights in this little alleyway in the hotel. And it was just supposed to be I guess you might call it I don't know if you'd call it a cozy map, but it's supposed to look distinct, and I can't think of many maps that really look like it. There's a map in the official map of the game Chozo which was kind of like this. There's a kind of very iconic map, a user-made map called Nightforts, which is, again, it's kind of what it sounds like, but the lighting in that was very bright. This was all supposed to be about contrast. I just realised I've talked on and on about this thing that I've spent far too much time on, making this little recreation. And of course it's not done, you can see all the kind of unfinished touches. But, sometimes I just like to just look at this and imagine the map that never was, the map that was lost, and in some alternate world this became quite well played and people would reminisce about their times playing, CTF Crossroads on the Mob Clan server, I think it was one of the more popular ones. So yeah, if anybody's still listening after this interminable rambling on, this was CTF Crossroads. And nobody's ever going to see it again. But we are getting on to Unreal Tournament 2004. I had a notion of rebuilding CTF Liner, maybe some other maps that I, recreated Warehouse, we've recreated this, but I think it's time to go on to Unreal Tournament 2004 because there's a lot of stuff to get through in that, and again, I'm trying to push these out a bit faster for all the 0 people that are watching them. May come back to this, maybe one day if I've got a spare bit of time I'll recreate CTF Line and maybe one other maps, but I think for now this is the last we're seeing of Devastation, and we'll be shortly getting on to the many, many, many Unreal Tournament 2004 maps that I've got to show. And hopefully I'm trying to push out one a week of these, so we'll get through Unreal Tournament 2004 pretty quickly. So that's what's next, and this is likely but not certain the last time I'll ever be seeing Devastation. So I thank you for sticking with me, and we'll get on to some new stuff next time.